Fiscal Policy by Hayden and Dinkett. So, fiscal policy is not Janet Yellen.
Not at all.
Instead, it is the way that Congress controls the economy, and they have a couple of basic tools that they use to do this.
When the economy is out of balance, they want to bring it back to closer to market equilibrium. What is market equilibrium? I'm so glad you asked.
It's that. It is basically the standard economy when demand lines up with supply. And so on the x-axis is real GDP, on the y-axis is price level, and there are three curves: long-run aggregate supply, short-run aggregate supply, and aggregate demand. Now, there are two main tools for fiscal policy. A government can either change government spending or taxation.
These both have their own distinct effects on different parts of GDP and can be used in either expansionary or contractionary circumstances.
So for expansionary, that's basically when they try to increase aggregate demand to increase the GDP, bring price levels up, bring employment up. And contractionary is the opposite. They're lowering price level and they're lowering employment and GDP. So for aggregate demand, that's just GDP. It's SIGNIX. So it's consumer spending plus investment spending plus government spending plus net exports. And both government spending and taxation will have an effect on one of those variables to lower or raise GDP.
So through government spending, this obviously changes the component of SIGNIX that is literally government spending. So through different economic circumstances, if they need to raise or lower government spending, that will have an effect on the GDP of the country.
And for taxation, you are going to be using, altering consumer spending. So if you want to raise consumer spending, you're going to lower taxation so that citizens have more money to spend in markets, and the opposite is true. If you want to lower consumer spending, you will raise taxation. Now, let's see it in action.
Action.
So the country is in a recession. The action is the government increases spending. The result is aggregate demand increases. So if that is 81 when they're in the recession, 82 is once they have increased spending, price level increases, employment and GDP increases, and we're back at equilibrium.
Another tool that you can use in this circumstance is government spending or countries in a recession, you decrease in taxes to allow the consumer to have more spending money to use in markets and increase the C in SIGNIX, which is consumer spending, thus moving AD1 back to AD2, which is at market equilibrium, and stabilizing the economy.
Now, if there is inflation, the government is going to decrease spending, and that will decrease aggregate demand. So if you're 81 inflation, you're going to bring it back down to 82, which is equilibrium. Price level is going to lower, and employment is going to lower, as will GDP.
Another tool you can use in inflation is raising taxes, which will allow the consumer less money to spend in markets and lower the C in SIGNIX again moving AD1 back to AD2 and stabilizing the economy to avoid the bad effects of inflation.
Done.
Created using Powtoon.